Good morning, everyone. This is Marwan Sammak. I'm the chairperson for the Transport and Logistics Committee, and I'm just, starting the meeting. I have with me Mr. Tariq Fahmy as co-chair and Mr. Ahmed Al-Fangari as co-chair, and I'm really happy to be with you all today. Not easy to work from home and talk from home and attend such conference from home. So I'm going to try to feel like an anchor today, Amr Adib or something, and try to do it in a very, you talk to remotely to people sitting watching you, and you have to let them feel that they are, sitting with you. So that is really challenging. So Tariq, would you give a word, and Ahmed?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Tariq Fahmy. I'm the chairman of MSC Egypt and also the vice chair of the logistics committee. And it is really challenging to work and to have conferences like this, but we're getting used to it, I guess. And I hope nobody asks me to stand up. So far, I'm doing great.
Good morning, I'm Ahmed Fangari, the co-chair of the Logistics Committee for the AmSham and the Egypt country manager for DHL Express. Glad to be with you, everyone. I'm not Amr Adib like Marwan, but I'll try to be a student of Marwan, at least.
You have a Marwan as a son, huh? So good luck.
Yes, exactly. This is how I'm getting learned.
Absolutely. I don't know if everybody could see the screen. I share the screen now.
Yes.
Okay, good. So I'm just wanted to start with. I agreed with my co-chairs who really are very important to me, that we try today to give you a little bit of a walk into the impact on transport and logistics sector from a COVID-19 perspective. But that being said, we agreed that we go from a macro level and then we go into more and more details, and also then we open up for discussion and questions and Q&As and all that, so we get a clearer picture. Just to give you a brief about myself, I have many hats. So in business, I have my own company, and I'm also a partner in a shipping line. So the shipping line is number 5 in the world. That's Hapag-Lloyd, and we have Tariq Fahmy with us, MSC, number 2 in the world, and challengingly maybe becoming number 1. We'll never see after COVID-19. But also from my own perspective, I am in many other businesses. So I have stevedoring, which is Shahn wa Tafriq in all Egyptian ports. And I have also a trucking fleet, containers. So we're trucking and transporting containers around, all for shipping businesses, and we have also container services. On the business, on the other levels, I am in the Chamber of Shipping. I'm the vice chairman of the Alexandria Chamber of Shipping, the more and the most significant one in Egypt, and also I'm the past chairman of the Alexandria Businessmen Association. So I'm a little bit in many businesses, and I a little bit can see things, and I have to see things from different perspectives. That being said, with sharing of the slide, that's a slide by Decode, which I like because it gives us a little bit of an understanding of how businesses are hit. And we are just hit from everywhere. So the closures and the curfews and all that are making consumers not capable of working in businesses. Businesses also are not looking at investments. Everyone is delaying the investment and delaying the also studying of investments, even stopping them. Then also there is a hit from businesses on the households because of challenges, and many of the households, like in Egypt, they are dependent on their daily wages, and this hits the whole market. Government is trying to cope with all that, but on the other level, on the international demand is shocked, but also international supply chains and domestic supply chains are a bit disrupted. So that being said, it tells you a little bit of a sad story on how business is looking into the challenges and you can put yourself anywhere in the shoes of anyone there. We want to be in the business sector, but when we talk today, we are on the right side with the international supply chain and the domestic supply chains, which are disrupted by all these factors put together. Then on the other side, I wanted to share with you, it's a little bit in Arabic, but I'm sorry for that.
I want to disrupt, but we're just seeing the icons. We're not seeing the slide itself.
Oh, what do you mean
We're seeing the Zoom 4, Zoom meeting 2, but we're not seeing, it's not open, the slide itself.
Oh, so this is not clear? I have it in my...
We can see just the icons, but we cannot see the page itself.
Okay, so, okay. So I think we have to move on.
Marwan, are you using PowerPoint?
No, I'm putting it on, it has an ID and I'm sharing it and it's telling me stop sharing or no. So,
no, I think you should open up the slide and then share it. You know, we see a number of slides, but the icons كلهم صغيرين.
It's a picture.
Yeah, open it up. عشان what we can see, but it's very small.
Yes, if you could just open the picture and then share the slide.
Exactly.
It's on my, okay, I'll try to do that.
Here you go.
Okay, good. Thank you. I have my IT specialist sitting next to me, so I was not doing anything myself. I was just sorry for that. So, so I think you see the decode, and I've just explained it. I don't know if you wish that I explain again, but I think when we look at the businesses and we look at the international demand shock and the postponed investments coming in and the government and the impact from business on households and all that they are disrupting the international supply chain and the domestic supply chain. So that being said, I think we should understand, and everybody's talking about a shock into the supply and the demand. And this shock is not static. It's a dynamic shock. It's moving around the world. It was China-based and Europe-based and US-based and even Middle East-based because of India and the effect of India. So it is moving around the world from a supply shock to a demand shock. So we can see a lot of disruption, and planning and understanding what's next is something that comes by day from a business perspective. I don't know if Tari want to comment on this slide, or Ahmed.
Yes, well, thank you, Marwan. We see a big change happening everywhere. As you mentioned, the mode of transport is being changing big time, mainly to speed up the process of delivery. So this is what we see nowadays. What's happening in the European Union and China, India is a big change, and what will be next, as discussed or as we talked earlier, it won't be the same. It won't be the world as we used to. Many companies, I don't want to go into details of what would be the recovery process. We'll take it further. But yeah, thank you for what's said so far.
Thank you, Ahmed. We just want to put everyone, to align everyone, as you know, on the facts. What's happening? What is the picture? And so I'm sharing another slide. I'm sorry that it's in Arabic. I hope you will be able to see it in a second. My IT specialist is working on it. So that slide tells you how long businesses can survive. And it is so sad to understand from a COVID-19 perspective that businesses are not easy to survive long. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Yes.
I'm sorry, it's in Arabic, it's CNBC. My God, they're counting in days. Some of them, like restaurants, 13 to 16 days. And retail 19 days. This is, if I understand well, either it's an international norm or it is a Gulf state. So it is not Egyptian. I'm sorry for that. Try to understand, to get some slides on that. Couldn't find, but this one. So this tells you how businesses are distressed. And when you look at industry, around a month, and retail, much less, and technology, a little bit more, and housing, just a bit more. So this tells you a story on the challenges that businesses face. And I wanted to discuss them a little bit because these challenges will lead to our supply chain and transport challenges. From an operational perspective, you know, sales, customer service, operations are disrupted, curfew impacts, performance challenges to be able to perform if you have to perform, or stopping of the businesses. Communication is becoming very challenging. From a finance perspective, the working capital and how long can it supply the business, and it's per day, and the cash flows, receivables management, collection challenges. Everybody wants to say, sorry, I can't pay you, it's COVID-19. And costs, you have new costs that you never thought of. You will be able to incorporate into your cost structure. And looking into shipping and looking into transport, a ship that carries, if we say 7,000 containers, TEUs, and then carries less, then the cost per unit is much, much higher. So what can you do? The cost, the production of transport happens not like in industry where there are inputs, outputs, and you know the cost of your product. Your product has a cost that is moving depending on many factors. So also on the human capital side, curfews, the work from home, the frontliners that have to go, so shipping and air transport and trucking, you have to put your frontliners as drivers and you know, the people working in the ports and everywhere, but also in your customer service and on many other fronts. Also looking at with the human capital, the accountability. How can you put your people accountable? How can you manage them? And the communication that they have together. So saying that supply and demand is shocked, I would add to it, look at energy costs. What happened in the energy cost? It went down by half or a third from an energy cost perspective. And what does that mean? Volumes. So volumes of business, they went down. So looking at this slide and how vulnerable business is, and the, let's say, the challenges that businesses face, and the risks from an operations, from finance, from human capital, I wanted just to give you a bit of a taste of how these things look like and talk about it. Tariq, if you have any comments, or Ahmed?
And I believe it's, I mean, the way business is being dealt with these days, it's really changing. It's like you said, volumes are going down. We see a lot of medium-sized businesses that will go into trouble. And I think the challenge of everybody is to really keep on going, to sustain, to keep high, to keep employees intact. It's just a new way of doing business, which I think it's for us it's good and it's new. I mean, yes, this COVID-19, of course, is a disaster for lots of people, but I think it just made us all realize a new way of doing business. I mean, on the logistics side, we were lagging behind with the e-business. And I think this just made us put full speed in making everybody, forcing all the clients to go on to make business by internet. And so I think this is something good that will benefit after we finish this crisis. But so I think it's very good that everybody settles down and looks on the way they do business.
Yes, I think as you guys said, it's moving into digitalization. So everyone is moving into digitalization. We were moving towards this, but now the speed is full speed into digitalization, robotic process, RPAs. So we see whoever already started digitalization is the head of the game now. It will push more and more into digitalization, cashless societies. So although Corona is not for a favor for everyone, but it will push a lot of in towards the digitalization and cashless societies. And the way we think of business having crisis management differently. So this is what we see happening now on the ground, and people how being adapted to. We would never go for such a conference call or for such a meeting discussing such a critical topic unless we are forced to, which is what digitalization is happening for all of us. So this is what I see so far.
Thank you, Ahmed. You went into the solutions, and but you know, and thank you for that. And I think we're going that way. I just want to that we clarify all the facts and what's happening and how the shocks are coming in. So I've given you a little bit of an understanding, and also Tariq and Ahmed, and we have to look at the supply chain around the world, and we look at its supply chains around the world are sea, air, and land, and also with that we have terminals, airports, and we have also you know, the customer sites and the delivery points. So when we look at this landscape of logistics and transport, and we look at the challenges, the operational, the financial, the human capital, supply chains have been able to perform, although what has been really hard hit was the air. And because of moving of people, you need planes now, and also you put cargo on board these planes. This has been disrupted a little bit, although air transport on itself has been differently reacting, and I think it was a resort for many businesses. Ahmed, I think this is your domain. Can you give us a highlight on air and how air was reacting and what happened in the air, not from moving of people perspective, but you know, moving of cargo and everything around?
Thank you. So we are into courier business, not the heavy one, although we have another branch, which is the aviation part, where we used to have like 2 to 3 flights a week. Now we are getting 5 flights a week. Since Corona started, we used to depend sometimes on the commercial flights, which is not anymore as an available option. Although we can see some of the commercial flights have put in boxes on the seats, so on the cabinet itself, so which is because of the high demand on cargo shipments or moving goods. They were forced to do so, but definitely this with a huge cost. When Corona started, actually started from China, the main source for everything to the whole world. So we're having a big backlog for all shipping products because it came right after the Chinese New Year. So there was a big backlog. Added to it the lockdown of the country, where a lot of companies were forced to change the mode of transport from sea to air, and others from air to courier, depend on the crucial how crucial is the shipment. Having said that, this have put a big backlog. Till today, we're not able to clear it up. We are trying to give priorities for the medical supplies coming from China to the rest. And we are expecting, because China having vacation 3 days holidays, so we are expecting the volumes to go by 50% by end of those 3 days as backlog. So this is not the normal courier industry, but the change is as I said, how crucial is the shipment for the survival of some industries, factories, spare parts, a lot of raw materials and those stuff. So we are seeing the change, and for how long it's going to be, we don't know. We are adding another flight, so we are expecting to have like 6 flights a week instead of 2 flights. You can imagine how big is the demand on shipping air. This is from what we see from an air freight or courier point of view. Lufthansa have added some flights. Sometimes they cancel as a cargo flights or charters. Emirates, Egypt Air, but nothing is stable yet. They keep on and off. The main KPI for shipping or especially courier and freight and air freight is the transit time, which is not yet being confirmed. You can't say I'll be delivering on 48 hours as we used to say to our customers before. But so far we can say, although with all those challenges, we are reaching into 95-96% of success rate, which is, you can imagine how difficult it is. That's why I'm speaking to you guys in the office. I'm not at home like Marwan. So this is the difference between our industry and yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Ahmed. I think if I need to go to the office, or Tarek needs to go to the office, so I need to go to Alexandria, Damietta, Port Said, and Sokhna, not only Cairo Airport. Huh? So
I have it everywhere as well. 33.
Yeah, but thank you for your input from an air perspective, because air, we've seen that it had many challenges. The IATA had, and the IATA chairman said that the business lost in the till year to date around $60 billion, the value that the industry lost, and this is because of truly moving of passengers, and that he was asking for if the governments will not be able to support very fast, and all the the promises that were given, they have to be now materialized. If this doesn't materialize fast enough, then this will create maybe half of the airlines will go bust and bankrupt. That has been, like, I've been seeing it yesterday on Bloomberg. So that being said, looks like the air industry is in distress. It is, I think, the hardest hit when it comes to businesses hit, and I'm not a professional of air, but we're all talking about supply chains, and it's part of the supply chains. Looking at sea, I think we had a good story, Ahmed, when you spoke about when did it start. It was the Chinese New Year, and everybody. So shipping industry also, and Tari with me here, we're both working in the same industry a little bit, so we give our perspectives. And the shipping industry has been also looking at China having this Chinese New Year. So it was an extended Chinese New Year. They didn't get back the employees into the offices, took them 2 or 3 more weeks to bring them in. But then the challenges were very large, and they couldn't find equipment, containers, and also there was a lot of new planned blank sailings in the shipping industry, because we have like weekly sailings, and some of them they get blanked, and this ship does not move. And this means you are taking out capacity from the market, because if you keep on capacity in the market from a supply and demand perspective, the rates will go down and everybody would lose. Looking at shipping industry from China, at that time, it was very challenging for them to do business, but still it was a supply shock from the beginning. The supply shock because China is you know, the manufacturer of the world, and also the business in especially in Europe and US depends a lot on that, and it was a real disruption. Having these blank sailings, then the world fleet increased and in supply, because shipping lines were stopping some of the very large vessels that they have, and then we started looking at a ripple down effect on the industry. I don't want to eat up a lot of that discussion, because I have you know, Tariq Fahmy, who is also at MSc, and he has also his insights. So I can talk a lot about that, but I think that I give to Tariq now to tell us a little bit about what happened in the shipping industry, and I would also cover up for any points that I see that needs to be supported. Go ahead, Tariq.
Okay, now concerning the shipping industry to Egypt, I would like to focus on that, because all over the world there are ports that are shut off, and I think it's to Egypt, we're still maintaining the operations in all ports. So like Marwan said, there was, after the Chinese New Year, there was about 2-3 weeks of China closing down. And so we saw this effect on the volumes coming into Egypt. There was like a gap. And but after China started again full force, we see things coming, volumes are coming back to Egypt. There are challenges operating, but as a total volume, even for exports from Egypt, I see it maintaining like last year, more or less. With maybe just a slight decline, but more or less it's the same, as we are now in the season for the agriculture exports. Maybe ways of transport have changed. For example, I mean, a lot were being shipped to Italy and then land transported to Germany or Austria. Now we see that changing a little bit. With the way people do business. So I believe in, it's not shipping into and out of Egypt is not that bad. But like I said, there are operational challenges. All vessels have to be sanitized before coming in. A lot of these challenges. Yesterday there were 2 cases in the customs in Alexandria. So everybody started to panic, but I think the Egyptian Navy went in and they're going to sanitize the port on a daily basis. So I think it's with the government being proactive, Egypt is not in a bad situation concerning, I mean, Egypt is in a bad situation for other industries, let's say construction or tourism, but I'm saying for the shipping industry, we are still operational, trucks are still on the roads. There are with the challenges, but it's I would say it's not a disaster for that industry.
Thank you, Tariq, for your input. You have rightfully said that Egypt is on. So from a logistics and transport and shipping industry perspective, it is on. Business is running, and business disruption is at minimum. Whatever happens, things are being managed, and really ports are operating. Whatever happens, and terminals are productive, and trucks are moving, and deliveries are on import and export side. Customs is working. Ports are working, some disinfection and things like that, but still everything is moving. Let me go back to the macro level also, just to shed light to our attendees. And so the shock came from the supply in China. Then we started looking at Italy. Italy became the hard hit, and then Spain. Europe became the new core for this, and that being said, it's a demand area, and still they started and they kept on fighting back, the logistics and transport industry. They kept on pushing exports, Italian and European, to the world. So this they locked it well. and they were able to perform well. On the other side, we started looking at that time at a lockdown in India, a complete shutdown of India, and 28 days of lockdown, and trucking has been disrupted. Egyptian exports with reefers to there were stuck a little bit. Now we see challenges there, and that being said, Egypt is served also India and Egypt to Europe, or India and Egypt to the US. There are many shipping services or shipping routes that are serving both. So this has been hitting a little bit so some blank sailings will be starting, and we're seeing them. So also the supply needs to go down a little bit. So because the demand on shipping is moving down. The US had the hit, and we started hearing and seeing that a lot of challenges are there. So ports challenges, as Tariq was saying, but also they stopped receiving some of the cargoes, ready-made garments, stopping a little bit, and on also other products. And that is a demand side downside. And this is hitting because US is a huge importer, and this is hitting the world of shipping and transport. And I would want to add to the discussion the fuel cost, because the fuel cost went down, and I think it went down like crazy. We all can talk about it for hours. It is not our domain here, but from a shipping perspective, two costs went down, which is the fuel cost, but also the charter cost. This is the renting of a vessel per day or per month or whatever. So there are abundance of vessels now because of the supply and demand, and this means that this is lower cost. This has put perspective into Suez Canal, because Suez Canal is a factor of fuel and charter cost. So if you are a ship owner that you have cargo from Far East to Europe or to the US, if you're passing through the Suez Canal, you have to go through the Cape with some more days of steaming. And this is a factor of if the fuel is very cheap and the ship cost is very cheap, it's cheaper to pass through the Cape than going through the Suez Canal. This is something that we can see. Yesterday, we saw some declaration of shipping lines that they are going to move through the Cape. That's CMA that declared it, but maybe others will start doing that. And these can be touching ports in the Med. Some of them would be the Egyptian ports. So we don't know how this will impact Suez Canal. I know that some of the shipping lines went to Suez Canal asking for a reduction of the toll, and looking at this from an impact on the Egyptian economy or an impact or on so it is not only a downside on the number of passages into the canal, but also I think the canal from a competitive point of view needs to think its tolls, and so blank sailings and less tolls, and maybe passing through the Cape, because now some ships, without blanking the ships, you can have longer transit time. So this lets you use your ships with low-cost fuel. That is like new ideas within the shipping industry we never thought of, and we never thought the fuel will go that low, or we will be that long on ships in the industry. So that is a new change in the shipping industry, and we don't know how long will it stay. It is a supply and demand shock, and how deep, how long the shock will stay is not very clear. And we are all now a factor of the US economy. So talking in the AmCham, I think this is something that also we should all have a webinar on it, and to talk about what would the US go and what are the odds of the shock. So that being said, I think if it's an economic storm, it's not like an economic tsunami. And the tsunami is the epicenter of the tsunami will be the US if it really happens. So, and I'm not a philosopher, and I'm not an economist. So I'm just saying it out loud, but without really knowing or understanding the underlying factors about it. Looking at that, shipping industry went into business continuity. And I think Ahmed Fangari had touched really on the idea of digitalization. And digitalization in the transport and logistics comes at many ends. In shipping industry, the touch points of customers are where we can say that it is sales, and you need from the sales pitches, but you need quotations. You need to arrive to reach quotations, and quotation tools have been deployed by different shipping lines, so you can now get quotes very fast. And these quotes are digitalized. You go on the shipping lines, app, and you download it, and you start having your own quotations. And these are also using artificial intelligence. So if you are a large customer loading with that shipping line, they can give you more competitive rates, and this becomes a little bit of a new world within the shipping industry. Also, if you start booking, so then confirming your booking and receiving your booking confirmation, electronic, you input your data into that. And from that side, you start, if you go to the terminals around the world, you don't need the delivery order stamped like in Egypt, or the shipping order stamped and signed like in Egypt. This digitalization is moving on. Then we started hearing about the electronic bill of lading, and we're starting because the blockchain technology and the shipping industry is trying to look at the bill of lading, and the bill of lading as a blockchain tool that can you can start it in a place and it ends at another place. So blockchain technology and platforms for electronic bills of lading and using of Seaway bill of lading and telex releases, it's becoming much wider. On the payment side, that's another part where in Egypt, everybody started putting Visa cards, but transfers and wide use of transfers. This is not the case of Germany, where everybody is already using bank transfers. But around the world, we can see that also this as a touch point is becoming much more from receivables and payables at the customer side. They started talking to each other. It's not runners that are running with cash going to banks. It is now more, a structural move within companies at shipping side and logistics side, and also at the customer side. I just try to pass by digitalization a little bit, but I think Tarek and Ahmed Fangari, you can tell us also what's your experience, how you see the market moving, huh?
Well, I think it is moving. It's very challenging because people have their minds that they have to come to the office to see by themselves where is the container and all that. So I think it's how you have to ask first the people coming inside, what do you need? And if we can do it online, we show them how. And I think they are starting now to be more and more used to that. And I see like a comment that was asking with everybody working at home, will the labor market be less or not? But I don't think it will be less, but I think it will be a change, because before, I mean, like 2 months ago, employees could be working or have a holiday. I think now they can reach that they will have a 50% salary and work from home. That will be like a third option they can have. So things will surely are changing, and they will change, and it will be for the better. But we need to get, the COVID-19 out of the way, and things will surely change. I mean, we are now more and more investing in digitalization, and I think this will continue even after the crisis. Nothing is going back to how it was.
Yes, I agree with digitalization. We're seeing it happening. The last meeting we had with MTS for integration and digitalizing the clearance process in Egypt, which is in hold now till this crisis finished. But again, we're moving on the right track. We did already integration with MTS for the process of clearance, So from the point of departure of the shipment, we know what's happening manifested, and we start the process to be either batch or formal clearance, which I see this after Corona time will move ahead with the change of payment methods into cashless society. Will even speed up the process of doing that. We still will be having the inspection, as Tariq mentioned, which has to be done by the broker, and having the customers, customs agent in front of them. But again, this is minimizing the footprint of the number of the visits for the brokers, as being mentioned before in MTS presentation. We are, as DHL, have put a big plan for digitalization across the globe for the whole group, Deutsche Post DHL, which is a plan for 5 years. And I think with coronavirus, this will be happening in less than 2.5 years. This is my expectations. But it will never, and as Deutsche Post mentioned, it will never reduce the labor society or the labors on the logistics business, but the rules will be different. So this is what we see it happen.
Thank you, Ahmed. Thank you, Tariq, for your inputs, and I do agree that things are moving, but I see digitalization as a self-disruptor in the industry, because I don't think that digitalization and new apps, they will collapse the current businesses that are doing. So you cannot just work with any platform. You still need to work with the current shipping lines, current airlines, and also big logistics players, and all of them are investing big money in digitalization and web channels and apps and solutions, and they are reaching out to their customers, and they're putting a lot of money on integrating artificial intelligence and blockchain technologies and things like that. And I can tell you they're also working with geeks, technology geeks, and it's really working well. They go and visit Google and all these guys and try to learn from them. So shipping industry and airline and logistics, they are kicking in and putting their own solutions, learning from other industries and trying to be the disruptors, not the disrupted. And on that side also, there was like a question on online marketplace and apps, and Noor Sharawi, and how this will impact, the Egypt, and I think yes, it can, and people are working with it. But I think the shipping industry and airline and logistics, they have the platforms and they are getting to their customers, and it is not B2C, it's B2B. So there is direct connection and communication with customers, and customers are moving into the new platforms. Having COVID-19 as a market disruptor, digitalization is kicking in through these players. And as Tariq was saying, every shipping line and every logistics service provider is investing. And this means that big business will maybe become bigger, and maybe smaller will go into using of others. So you never know. On that side also, there was also like a look back into the questions, Nada Deep, and about the energy cost, and will it also be helping shipping lines on the ongoing, on lowering their costs. And I need to say that that is kicking in, and it could be right, but all ships were already bunkered with high cost fuel, and then the whole fuel went down. So the costs is who is going to fuel cheaper and then start the war. This is not happening because all volumes are down. And as we've said, ship costs are lower and fuel costs are lower, but also the volumes are much lower. So shipping industry is in shock, and we do not have to look at the direct costs. We have also to look at debt. also because debt with a lot of shipping lines and logistics, they use debt into and that debt management and how you can really repay that and looking at your bottom lines and keeping up the cost and also investing in technology and in other costs have increased, like the disinfection costs at ports and things like that, and a lot of challenges. Looking at even seafarers do not have means to fly into and taking a ship from anywhere. So shipping lines are facing a lot of challenges, not being able to move their crews from one ship to the other or back home or whatever. So, and then disease management on board of ships and terminals and all that. So the shipping industry and airline industry and everyone is in shock, and you never know how their balance sheets will end up at the end of this of the second quarter, this quarter, and maybe the quarters behind, looking at the supply shock and the demand shock. So I just wanted to move through some of the questions, clean them up a little bit while we move on. But I think that we need to talk about to explain about and give shed some light on business continuity. I think business continuity is very important for is very important when it comes to shipping industry and airline industry and land transport. I would ask Ahmed Al-Fangari how a company like yours is looking at business continuity, and maybe also after your comment and Tariq's comment, we would hear Sharif Kamel as a clarification on business continuity and what business continuity does mean for business. And I know that the AUC was, can pioneer on business continuity, courses and some education side and some, academia side. So go ahead, Ahmed.
Okay, well, we see it a big challenge. The thing that we don't know what's gonna happen in the future, how things should move. But what we are doing now is, as you said, a lot of companies have been closed, affected the volume of shipments, volume of shipping, payment, cash flow. Again, those are main things nowadays. So the business, we see some sectors are more important than others. Definitely the pharmaceutical, the medical sectors, as well as FMCG. Those are the main sectors or the main industries moving on. E-commerce definitely is moving with 400%, even in now the governments are using, for an example, Amazon, Canada.
I don't hear you, Ahmed. Is it a problem at my side or no?
Hello?
We can hear them and see him.
Oh, that's good. Marwan, are you okay?
I hear you now. It was a problem at my side? No,
I think so.
Okay, you go ahead, and I'll try to check what I can do with my side.
Right. So I said Amazon yesterday has launched or have an agreement with the Canadian government to deliver the protective for sanitization, the masks and those stuff. So now we can see the cooperation between the government and the private sector is a big, it's moving more and more faster, and they feel how it should go. They feel the importance of working the private sector with the government. We will see such an examples in different countries, and hopefully in Egypt as well. There are talks for cooperation with some governments in helping overcome the crisis. The online industries or whoever working on a digital network is moving heavily, and the growth is high on their end. What will happen next? People will definitely, as I mentioned earlier, that we have to be ready for big change on way of doing business, how we manage the crisis and how we take it, not from business, from cost perspective, but the most convenient ways. The drop of oil has a big effect. So far, we can see it on the shipping, because other challenges have came up and the demand is very high. But on the long term, we can see a big change on that. That's it from my end.
Tariq, what's your input?
I think, yes, the challenge is not knowing what's coming tomorrow. I mean, we are dealing on a day-to-day basis. We really do not know when this thing will be over, or if it's going to go into a complete lockdown or not. I mean, so business continuity, we cannot plan for it. I mean, we have to take each day as it comes. We're like in an emergency council all the time, and we see things how they hit us. Sometimes they say no trucks on the road, sometimes then they come and say trucks are on the road. So I think it's just we just need to know and what's going to happen, but of course nobody does. So this is the main challenge in keeping business running.
Sharif, so from an academia perspective, I think you can give us, shed some light, because from my side on business continuity management, so we have it and the systems, and we continue try to look at, probabilities and also severity of everything. And we keep on, when we have like an online meeting all the time, talking about these things, updating them, looking at challenges and changes, and what can we do about it. And when it comes to disruption, human capital, what we're going to do on financial, what we're going to do operational, what we're going to do, and putting scenarios. And this makes us like not sleeping at night, as Tariq is saying. It keeps on changing, but I think it's also academia and science. So Sharif, can you give us some input on that? Sharif Kamel, can you hear us?
Yes, I'm here. But the voice not that good from my side. Can you hear me, Marwan?
Yes, I do.
Can you come back and say what you said, because I couldn't hear you?
Yeah, we're talking about business continuity, and we spoke about our own experiences in business from Tariq's, Ahmad's, my point of view. But what about academia, business continuity management? And this is like science, and academia can kick in and can give us some advice on business continuity, what we can do, what the science is like, and how can this support the business in this period?
So I'll tell you our experience, which we started 7 years ago. We started moving online and opting for not really full online education, but blended education. This is back 2004. Early days, obviously from a cultural perspective, it was a big deal. It was a challenge. You're talking 4 different constituents here: the students, the faculty, the staff, and also the community that we serve outside campus. So I think, like we said in the opening remarks, or even before we started, in the world of education, it's still challenging, but it's nothing compared to the world of business. Because things can much easier move online. At the end of the day, we are dealing with content, the way we deliver the content, the way people absorb the content, and have a mean to communicate. Obviously, not the same as sitting in the same room, And I'll give you a simple example. If a professor at Columbia just yesterday could not actually give a lecture to a screen. People are obviously on the other side, but what he did is that he asked his son to sit in front of him in the room next to the screen. So he's looking at his son as if it's the classroom and delivering the lecture. Some of those, by the way, are live. Some of them are static, where you post the lectures online and later people would log in and see it. So the challenges are different. Some people think that the problem is only in the recipient, which is the student, which is absolutely wrong. The faculty themselves, not all of them are accustomed to that. Not all of them seamlessly move online. And the staff themselves talk about connectivity issues, talk about being really timely. You're talking really, you need to be really efficient. I'll give you a very simple example on the challenges. So if when you're sitting in a classroom, I give you a lecture, that's not a big deal. You or 1,000 like you, I send you an assignment, no big deal. But how can I test you? How can I give you an exam? How can I make sure that you're the one who filled the exam? So here comes the role of technology. Technology, one of the applications is called ProctorU, where you have to sit in front of the screen. Obviously, more often than not, most of the platforms now have cameras. You have to sit in front of the screen. You cannot move. I'm monitoring you through the camera, seeing where your eyes are going. Obviously, you can tell me that you can still put a piece of paper in front of the screen and so on and so forth, or even another mobile with the response and so on. Some of those cameras can actually see exactly where your eye movements are going, and it can tell if you are really answering the question or trying to concentrate on something else. Can you imagine doing that for 1,000 people at the same time, or even 100, or even 50? So, sorry, come again?
It's coming tough, huh? It's a big change as well.
Oh, big change. But I should say it's if you compare, it's all relative. But if you compare this to, as I said, to the business or where people have really massive logistics involved, or production lines, or the movement of so many people, it's definitely a much easier task. Having said that, look at what's happening to top US universities, the ones who have 30 and 40 and 50 and 60,000 students. That's huge. For simply, the platforms that are online never, ever operated at more than 40%. Now they're being asked to operate at 100% and efficiently and timely. So again, I don't want to dwell more, but business continuity is facing, is an issue facing the different industries, some more than others. Are we suffering? I wouldn't say we're suffering. I can give you the last point I want to share. Obviously, after the first week, we did an assessment to the faculty, to the staff, to the students. Just to give you a perspective, AUC community is just over 11,000, and that translates to 7,500 students, both graduate and undergraduate, 2,500 staff, and the rest are full-time and part-time faculty. So we did the survey, and you know how people love to be critical. I think it is remarkable that we had only 10% of the students complaining, 4% of the staff complaining, and 5% of the faculty complaining. That's after going for the first time ever fully online with all the mistakes and the challenges we're facing. So I hope that answers your question, Marwan.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sharif. And I do recall that after the, our own revolution in Egypt, we had business disruption, we had internet disruption, and that was a major issue. I remember our, bills
Absolutely.
and our manifests for the shipping industry, we were sending them by fax machine. I don't think this can happen today again,
Absolutely.
But what I was trying to also to tell you also that I remember that I took my management team and I came to EUC to a course on business continuity management. At that time, there were Americans. They were giving us this, business continuity management course at the IEI, and then it was an eye-opener. We integrated it into our business, systems, quality systems, and all that. But we've learned a lot how to react and what are the different things. And a challenge like COVID-19, it is not something that you could imagine coming, and you just start looking at the stars falling on you, and disruption on I don't know what and how you can. It's a doctorate on itself, but understanding the business continuity concept, business continuity management concept is very important. And I would urge small and medium enterprises and also large ones in Egypt that there is a quality certification for that quality management tool for that from the ISO, and I would also look at how our teams should be learning about this. There are tools on the YouTube and things like that now to share. So it's very important business continuity. Shipping industry and logistics, I can tell you, I think that I'm speaking on my behalf, but also Tariq's and Ahmed's and everybody working in the shipping industry, we still have to deliver, we still have to operate, we still have to work, and we have to keep our people safe. So it's challenging. Business continuity management is a science, and at the end, practice and management on the ground. So thank you for your input, and the experience of AUC was great. And I hope that all education institutions in Egypt, they would learn from the AUC experience. But then we have to also challenge the idea of, is everybody in Egypt capable and connected and all that? So a lot of things, a lot of a big challenge. So it's another forum that we can talk about, but I thank you very much for your input.
Marwan, let me just say, Marwan, let me just have to say half a minute, just say one last thing, which goes directly to your point and Ahmed's and Tariq's introductions and highlights. If you think of it worldwide, historically, the world has seen the mobilization and the logistics of mobilization of people, not even in that magnitude, just twice in history, World War I and World War II. But now we are seeing the mobilization and demobilization of people for the first time ever in history at that rate in peacetime.
Yeah.
And it's all logistics.
Very
it's not just mobilization, it's mobilization from one end and demobilization from another end in that magnitude. Yes. Worldwide. So you're seeing the global map every day, who got sick, where, God forbid, who died, where, and so on. One map, billions of people. It's a huge challenge. Everybody's learning. Everybody's, as they move forward 1 meter, they either strike a lucky decision or make a difficult decision. And we've all seen what the whole world is doing, stay at home. But we should also shed some light on what Hong Kong is doing. So Hong Kong population, it's a country city, 8 million people, 7 million people. You have New York, just over 8 million people, I think, or maybe 9 million people. Look what's happening in New York. Look what's happening in Hong Kong, with just, good for them, 4 deaths in 3 months. And everybody's in the street, and it's a very crowded city. It's one of the most crowded cities in the world. So that's, again, decisions, logistics, efficiency, and I can go on forever, but I'll stop at that.
I like your input. No, I like your input, Sharif, and thank you very much. And I would add to you that I've been looking into these things, and I had like a call from ExxonMobil chairman Hisham Al-Amrousi, who was also an AmCham member, and he was, convincing me and sending me videos on the use of masks and how the use of masks around the world in countries was a game changer. And he wanted me to tell and to inform the Minister of Transport to use this in the metro, because the metro, and this is like a decision by the Minister of Transport and use of masks, and they have all to use masks, otherwise they don't go into the metro, because this is where the virus can spread into whole of Egypt. And I did that, and I sent it to the minister, and I saw that the idea of talking about this and explaining this and looking at solutions on how to spread the virus. I think Hong Kong are using also masks, and I would tell all the business now hearing us, please use masks with your people and let your customers walking in, if you have an interaction with customers, they have to use masks. Banks, they have to ask people to put masks, otherwise they don't go into the bank. So
Yep.
we want to be part of, you know, taking or disintegrating this virus by not spreading it through you know, use of masks. And I will maybe share it with you, the video, but I don't think we can do that here. On another forum, I can send it even to Susan, and anyone who asks her, then he could send it to her. She could send it to him. So this is an important, thank you, Sharif.
Thank you.
We had some questions on Walid Labadi on the timing for import and export in Egypt, and was it stopping? What happened, Walid Labadi? And thank you, Walid, for the question. I think no. I think also Tariq Fahmy can say we had some disruption 1 or 2 days, but this disruption is not now, and everything is moving, and no big disruption in the ports. And transport, the Minister of Transport just overnight took the ban off the cargo, movement of cargo and trucks and people working at the ports for loading and discharging, stevedoring of ships and terminals. So all that, he just, you know, unlocked the ban and the curfew for this industry. We had some disruption with cash payment to banks, and then also they took out this for transport companies, and we can take whatever cash into the banks and we can be paid, but we're pushing further with transfers. So all this is like the past, and the supply chain and value chain is moving on the right track. I think Tariq Fahmy confirmed this, and Ahmed Fangari, you do, right?
Yes, I think everything. I think now the problem is efficiency, not doing business. There is no disruption. It's the efficiency with the congestion on the roads before 7 p.m. And so these are the challenges. But I think even with the cash now, we're starting to, everybody's thinking of giving drivers credit cards or debit cards, and I mean things are changing to the better. Unfortunately, it had something bad happens like this that move things now. Are doing business is moving to the better, I believe.
Yeah.
Yes, it is moving well. Improvement, as I said, in the availability of flight, and even the countries whom locked down the allowed the courier and movement of shipments. They didn't stop it. Even cross borders. I know the borders and the land borders in Gulf have been closed, but for certain carriers. But for us, it is still moving. So yes, we see accessibility very good. We have good support from. I'll talk now about DHL. We have good support from the network for moving a lot of flights to Egypt. This wasn't the case, but they supported us not to have disruption in the business. So yes, I don't see a big change happening on.
Very good. So thank you, Ahmed, for that. It's I think it's a confirmation from the industry, as we can say, yeah. And I just want to, before we move on to further discussion, also on the train side, and I want to tell you that you know, and that's the irony of things, that China, after the big hit, is now trying to prove to the world that it has very strong supply chains, and it has moved this train with all the support for Europe and the Siberia train, and they sent it by train, not by sea, to explain to the world that they have other means on modes of transport, and everybody, and they went online, and the Italians were looking at the train, where did it stop now, where is stopping next, and all that. So I think even countries and like China is trying to prove that they have now the road and belt, and it is very strong. They're sending airplanes with ventilators to countries, and they're sending even to the US. So we are seeing now moves on the logistics. If we look at it from logistics perspective and transport, this is becoming a leading edge of countries, how to reach out, trying to prove that they have resilient logistics networks, and also use of different transport modes. On the, we had a question from Rana Raga about social responsibility towards first liners. I would say that it is not social responsibility, it is responsibility. We are all responsible 100% towards our first liners. We have to keep them safe, use cleansing, give them masks, and ensure social distancing in workplace, give them sanitizers, disinfect workplace and around it, and ensure that our customers are not harming them, and working towards this. And I don't think I need to go back to Tarek and Ahmed. We would all agree that our frontliners are our real strong men on the ground, and we have to give them 100% of our support, and we all thank them and even try to clap for them, because they are our fighters on the ground. Karim Fahmy, also digitalization and the idea of Egyptian government and customs and digitalization cannot come only from private sector. It has to come from customs. And I'm not sure if you attended with us to MBS, we had this like 2 weeks ago at AmCham. The event is about the government and the customs and how it is moving right. I think that maybe Susan, you can share with everybody here the if we have a link to the presentation or the PowerPoint telling that the government is moving with investments on the ground. And I can only tell you that digitalization and other initiatives the government will take very strongly in the coming days, weeks, months, and years. So I would then think that we should say that in shipping industry, we are managing uncertainty, and we are managing rumors, because rumors are everywhere. So we had this customs issue, the port, this ship, this Italian, coming from cargo, how can we disinfect the containers and the cargo? A lot of rumors management in the shipping and logistics and disruptors, and we are managing the day-by-day life, and really it's a bit challenging. I want to share with you one slide that maybe gives a little bit of an understanding how we all should look at, and I wanted to have like some positive input and also a way and a drive on the future and how we should see the future. I'm working on putting the slide on the screen. I hope I would be successful. Can you all see it?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so where am I during COVID-19? So, fear zone, and fear zone is panic buying and stocking and, toilet paper, oh my God. And then we go into the learning zone and, starting the release the control and stop consuming what we look at what we need, not what we want. And we recognize that we're all trying to do our best. And then going into the growing zone and think about others and how to help and find purpose, be grateful, live the present, look at digitalization, look at solutions and all that. There is another side, looks like it's a bit more complex, but I want to go on to the positive notes, because we should not, just as business, we just talk about the negative issues. We should also look at how positive we can become and how we can see the opportunity in the, you can see this slide, the new one? Okay, so also this tells you the fear zone, but gives you, I want you to look more on the learning and the growth. It has much more points of coverage, and I wanted to show you both because the concept needs to be understood, and we all need to move ourselves, our families, our people, our frontliners from the fear zone to the learning zone to the growth. Because if you don't do that, then we live on panic and we live on fear, and we do not find a solution, and we only talk about disruption and challenges. We do not talk about solutions, and we do not talk about the future. As we all know, there is this curve, and the curve, everybody wants to beat the curve, and everybody wants to flatten the curve. And in Egypt, looks that the curve is picking up a little bit, but it is not really going where it hiked in Italy, Spain, and US. And we never know. This week and the coming week, we may see hikes or no. So we're looking into a crystal ball, and everybody please be safe. But that being said, the curve has an end, and we have to talk about what we learned and what happened. COVID-19, is it a disruptor that is instilling within our industry and within logistics and transport, solutions that will be there for long? Will business learn from what happened? And what about what will happen in the economy? How this will disrupt further the logistics and transport? What will we do if we have closure of the country for 1 or 2 weeks? How can we digitally serve and work and operate, and integration of customs and GOIC and all these authorities, so cargo can still move, maybe, because we don't want to have supply disruptions, and then we have also problems to the population and to business. So all these are open-ended questions that we can all think of, and we can all have, because I don't think that anyone has a crystal ball, and no one would be able to look at this solution as really as one solution to anyone. Everybody has his own challenge in this business environment, and we cannot have one solution, one size fits all. I'm not convinced. Every company has its own, realities, and has its own challenges, and has its own future, its own strategy towards that. So we can only learn from each other, but we cannot just mimic each other. We can understand. That is I think the only part that we can be contributing to our economy. So I think we, from general perspective, I would ask if Tariq has any input, if Ahmed has any input, and we try to open the floor for some questions. I try to cover for some of the questions, and while Tariq is giving a bit of an input, and Ahmed, I would try to look at some of the questions in the chat and put them up, and then we can have also maybe voice questions. Go ahead, Tariq and Ahmed.
I think because we're going a bit over time, there are in the Q&A thing, there are some questions that I have already answered some, but if you can have a look at them, Marwan and Ahmed, some are directed to you. So I think there are, a few good questions that need to be answered.
Yeah, but what is your general input before we just say that we've given a little bit of our insights and our ideas? Do you have any more things to cover or to tell or to?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Good. Ahmed.
To add a lot as well, Marwan. The only thing, as you mentioned, the way of procurement or the way of supply planning nowadays is different. It depends on how crucial or how important to prioritize the supply, or because of the cash again and the availability of products. But the only from a logistics point of view, and again we'll open the floor for others if they have questions, so we can help them on answering as much as we can. But the smart thing, which I saw it happening from one of the big production companies, that FMCG one, that they looked into the highest 5 revenue or sales revenue products, and they make sure of having all the supplies to keep on moving for those shipments. So the prioritization of each product or the supply of each product and how crucial it is for the business is the main thing that everyone is looking for. Again, thank you, Hoda, for offering SAP for the free offering. Just to reply on the one of the comments we have here.
Thank you, Ahmed. Yeah, thank you, Ahmed, and thank you, Marwan. And I'm very happy to walk you through those free offerings. It's related to the checking on your employees in the sites, and if anyone is impacted, so they can provide this to you in real time, and then you can have visibility on that. It's also related to procurement. We are opening up our procurement platform free of charge for the clients because of the situation. And there are also offering when it comes to the learning. Yeah, so I'm very happy to walk the committee through those free offering and help you use them during this tough times.
Yeah, thank you, Hoda. I think I hope that you can also send us a little bit of this and some presentations or something on that, because it is very interesting. We are in my business, in one of my businesses, we have SAP, and I can tell you that it is a very strong platform and really needs a lot of understanding, but it's very useful and thank you for this, and I hope that we can share with our attendees and members through AmCham what we can use as this free products and these open platforms. And it's a very, very strong statement from your side, and thank you for that. And we all want to understand and learn more about it. And,
thank you, Marwan. I will do so. I will coordinate with Sylvia and share this with you as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just also, AmCham is saying that everything is on the AmCham website. So all the presentations, all the conferences and things like that are there. So we spoke about some of this, especially MTS and all. So please go ahead, look at the AmCham platform. And thank you, AmCham, for the app and for the platform and you're putting the events online, and really you're digitalizing our world, and we are feeling connected and we are not feeling left out. So thank you for that. It's a strong. AmCham has been always pioneering and always delivering solutions. So this is something that we all have to be proud of, being part of AmCham. And we have also this healthcare and in air and healthcare, equipment that are a bit stuck. And I think Ahmed Fangari, anyone who has any issue in the air side, I think airport and also healthcare thing, I think even Ahmed can provide help to anyone who sees something. I don't think that the customs is stopping, or any organization in Egypt is stopping anything related to healthcare. That being said, I think, Ahmed, you can support, right?
Yes, and they are moving now very fast. Even NTRA are back to operation as of today.
Very good, very good. I think also infrastructure, IT infrastructure in Egypt, connectivity and internet, we have to thank them, because at the end, it's really strong. It's really strong, and they are really doing a great job, and our business is not disrupted. Nothing is happening. I think that is something that we have to all be proud of. The last comment, social responsibility. Rana had brought it from a frontliner perspective, but also Rana Ragab, but also social responsibility is part of what we all have to do. Businesses have to jump in, yes, but business also disruption and looking at cash flows and looking at challenges at working capital. So that is something that, the business community is talking about, Hussein B. Sabur and Ghabbour and all this, and we can go all to the media and look at the big fight, looking at should we be socially or sociably, and we all belong to the world, and we all give everything we have to the world. And I think as individuals, we all have to do that, and also maybe encourage our employees to support that, because at the end, we are all human beings, and social responsibility is part of who we are. we are a little bit of social animals, if you can say that. Sorry for the word, but I think the word is wisely used from a positive perspective, and we all have to support each other in this crisis. And companies, we wish that companies, all of them, stay in business, and because they touch lives of everyone every day, and we want businesses to stay in. Some of them, like air, restaurant, hotels, and others, are really disrupted, and the ones that are working with them. But maybe others are benefiting, like food and healthcare and disinfection and also toilet papers and things like that. But also the logistics industry is working at its heart. I can give a message out that we in the logistics industry and transport, we are doing our best to keep in the movement and of cargo, and to really do our best in keeping this moving. It is every day, it's moving every minute. It's in the ports, on board ships, on board planes, on trucks, on trains. So things are moving, big disruptions coming from supply and demand. The logistics infrastructure itself is not that much disrupted. It is the supply and demand, and maybe the human capital challenges that the logistics and supply chain industry is facing, but nothing else. The business itself is very sound, and it's moving very strongly, and it's fighting back for its own presence, or for everybody is really relying on this sound and strong supply chain, delivering value to the customers everywhere. If we have some questions open, Susan, how would you like that we move from here? Should we open for some questions?
As you like. Yes, we can do that.
Okay, can we? You manage us, huh? So, do anyone have any?
Well, before we move to just to give you a light and to tell you guys that I think even now, as in Egypt economy, we are moving on the right track. People now get used to the problem and trying to overcome it. So I can see on the second half of last week, the progress is being much better than the previous 2 weeks. So this is a good indicator that business is running, and we are moving forward. We are not stopping in here. People are looking into the challenge and seeing how would it be to transfer it into an opportunity. So we have all of us to look into it this way and see where are the opportunities in such a challenge. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone has any question or any input? We will be very happy to hear from you. Are you alive? Give me a sign.
We are.
Okay, so seemingly that everybody is satisfied or left already. But thank you for your time, and I really have to thank Tariq Fahmy and Ahmed Al-Fangari, my co-chairs. I'm really happy to be working with you, learning from you, seeing insights, and also supporting each other. We are working together in AmCham, and I would thank AmCham, I would thank Sylvia, I would thank Susan, Tariq, and everybody working in AmCham, the board level and the executive body. You are doing a great job. You're using technology, you're pushing us. You already saw that years ago. So thank you for that. And we are all benefiting from your services, and please be safe. And we want you to still do these webinars. We're looking forward to have another on transport and logistics. And if anybody wants any intervention or support, please reach out to us, any one of us, through AmCham if you wish, or directly. And we will be all working unless there are much more challenging times coming ahead. And I wish you all safety. Tariq and Ahmed, any input?
Oh, thank you everybody, and thank you AmCham. And it's really great. It's the first time I participate in a webinar, and it's really amazing. I think we should do that more often.
Thank you, Marwan, for arranging it. Thank you, Susie, Sylvia, thank you for being with us. Thank you for all attendees, and please, if you need anything, I'm here. I'm at the airport. We are working 24/7. So whatever you need, import, export, we are here to support. We have a little bit of logistics experience where we can add to your request. So thank you again.
You're in the airport. Don't fly away, huh? So keep. Good. Thank you very much. Thank you, AmCham.
Thank you, Marwan.
That we can
Thank you,
all-
Marwan, very much.
Sorry, Sharif, can you close?
Yes, sure. No, I just want to thank you, thank Tariq and Ahmed. This has been very insightful, and thank you for taking the time. And we look forward to the next webinar. And more importantly, please stay safe, stay home, stay healthy, stay connected, and hopefully, not maybe next time, but the one after, we're going to meet all in person in one room and resume our life normally. Thank you so much.